Justin wants to know, hypothetically, what would it sound like if Jim Cornette and Jerry Jarrett were in a heated debate discussing why a double cheeseburger or a chicken salad sandwich are better?
Motherfucker! Fuck you! Motherfucking asswipe! Fuck you.
I feel like that would.
Motherfucker!
Thank you.
See, you tried to fake me out with the mouth open thing.
Yeah.
I was looking.
You're ready for it. There it is.
Yeah. And see, but they don't have video here, Conrad, but they can, even without the video, I could hear you go like that. Yeah. And I knew that you wasn't with the word coming up behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Do you think if you lived in an apartment, and I know you don't because you went to buywithconrad.com, but do you think if you lived in an apartment, if your neighbors heard you hooting and hollering like this, they'd call the police?
Whew, boy, howdy. I wonder why my neighbors out here in the woods don't complain and call the police sometimes. It's funny you say that. So before we moved up here in my place in Friendswood, I had a separate office that was away from the house, and it kind of like backed up to the neighbors on the back side of us, and it backed up to their backyard. They were always out there in the pool and shit and everything. And sometimes you would upset me and make me get loud. And I guess one of the kids went to my kids and said, wow, I heard your dad yelling, screaming, chewing somebody out the other day. I said, what was that all about? And they were like, what? Yeah, I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. Then put two and two together, and it was just another day at Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Because sometimes when I would cut the promos and shit, I would leave my door open if it was a nice day outside. And I would go ahead and pontificate. Sometimes I could be a little loud. I know that's hard to believe.
I like it when you're loud. Ryan wants to know,
thank you,
what happened to Bonnie Blackstone? She was there for a cup of coffee in 93, and I thought she did a good job interviewing talent.
I thought Bonnie did a real good job. Bonnie I met in Global when we were down in the Sportatorium in Dallas. She was married to Joe Pedicino, and we lost Joe, I think, last year. But she came up for a little bit, and I think that just Bonnie was a little bit ahead of her time, really. I think she was the first female interviewer that we had at the time. We had Mike McGurk, who was a ring announcer, and, Bonnie was just probably ahead of her time. But I don't think that she liked traveling all that much either.
Yeah, I get that.
And probably being away as much as she was, but really, really nice lady. And I thought she was good at what she did.
Great question here from Dave Parsons. He wants to know, let's pretend for a second he winds up ending his personal ban on traveling outside of Louisville. Could Bruce realistically see Jim Cornette being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame one day?
I'd love for Jim Cornette to be inducted into the Hall of Fame one day.
He's got to be, right? It's going to happen.
I didn't have to be, but I think it'd be great if he was.
And I assume, is it fair to assume that he would probably want to go in as part of the Midnight Express with Stan and Dennis and Bobby posthumously?
I would think so. And I would hope that Corny would want to be in it.
Oh yeah. Why wouldn't he?
Well, because it's very popular to say that I wouldn't be in that Hall of Fame, no matter what they ever did or said, or by God, I'll never step foot in that Hall of Fame until you ask him.
Well, but I'm just saying he went up there and helped induct rock and roll several years ago. Why not?
Right. So I think that there's hope, and I think that Jimmy's deserving of it.
No doubt. Lindsay wants to know, we heard your name mentioned a few times during this year's Hall of Fame ceremony. Who is the one person or tag team you think needs to be inducted that hasn't yet been? Do you have a favorite that you're pulling for, Bruce, that you'd like to see go in that hasn't had their opportunity yet?
Oh, boy. this is going to sound really weird.
Okay.
Baron Miguel Cicluna and King Curtis Iakea.
Oh, okay.
Here's why. When I was a kid, early 70s, one of my first exposures to the WWF was a shot of King Curtis and Baron Miguel Cicluna as a tag team. Now, I had seen Cicluna work in Houston prior to that, like in the late 60s. So I knew who he was. And then there was this Curtis Iakea that just looked interesting in the magazines. And I thought that, like, oh my God, these guys got to be the baddest badasses in the world. Now, they were probably only tag team champions for a week or two, who knows? But I think back on history, and I think back at some of the guys that made a huge impression on me. Fuji and Tanaka, the Moondogs, guys like that you look back, Demolition, that I think are the foundations in so many ways that were great tag teams. Midnight Express,
Miss Elizabeth, Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim Johnston. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it really needs to be sometimes people that they know and
in front of the camera.
To Joe Blow sitting at home, who cares about the guy that does music? And that's not to disparage Jim Johnston or say that's not an extremely important part of what we do. Just saying to the guy sitting in Hoboken. Well, okay.
So do you not think Kevin Dunn?
LA.
You don't think Kevin Dunn should go in one day?
Read that puzzle, that Hulk Hogan.
I love you for that. When you called me this past week and I had my ringer on and it played that rap song from way back when, Cassio and Judy and everybody just looked at me like, who in the world is that? That's Bruce. Do you think Kevin Dunn should go in the Hall of Fame someday?
I do. He would probably disagree with me, but I do, without a doubt.
Isn't he?
I think his dad should. I think he should.
But isn't he behind the scenes?
He is, but he makes it all happen too. And I just, again, I don't know why. I just don't think that the Jim, would people know who he is and would they care? Probably not.
Joe Miner wants to know, I know Russo didn't have all home run ideas with creative, but what were 3 of his best ideas that you think he came up with? Rock and sock stuff? Is there some
but a lot of that was Mick.
Is there some fun Austin stuff? Some fun Undertaker stuff?
The Austin stuff, most of that was Vincent Austin. I know Russo will tell you, it was all me, bro. And you know what Russo was really good at? Russo was good at making everything else on the television show have a story.
Yes.
And to me, I thought Russo was excellent at that. And Russo was really good at making stories out of every single thing that was put on television.
The idea being that the knock against Vince for a long time was he only really cared about the attraction, the main event, the thing that's on the poster. But with Russo, man, everybody felt like they had something of interest, right?
Yeah. And whether they did or didn't, there was that feeling and there was at least an emphasis put on it.
JT wants to know, do you think you could take a stoner better than Vince?
Today? Probably not. Yeah. The thought of my knees coming down on the mat at the same time, that's one of those things that probably ain't going to happen anytime soon. So